If you were speaking to the younger version of you and that 16-year-old, you could have a sit down with him, what would you share with him?
God really loves you, and the slower you can say that to yourself and realize that every single morning you wake up, you can open your eyes and you can see, your feet sit the ground and you can walk, and you're able to go and chase these things that you want, and as much anxiety they bring you, as much doubt they bring you, but someone is still giving you the ability to do that. For me, that's the greatest gift that anyone can give you.
Loyiso Mdebuka, better known as Lloyd, is a Cape Town-based DJ, broadcaster, and entrepreneur shaping South Africa's creative and cultural landscape. He co-founded Blank Kanvas with Vincent Manzini, a consultancy working across music, fashion, hospitality, and brand strategy. With ventures like Therapy and ComUnity, Lloyd blends his production expertise with people-first approach to curate impactful lifestyle solutions for brands and his own platforms.
Every year's the head to wear the crown. When I take the crown off, I put it on ice.
So yeah, I was telling you, we're like on 9,200 and whatever, 50 subscribers now. Just over a year, the show's been running. And part of this conversation, we're starting a campaign where after we hit 10,000, we're going to give someone 10,000 Rand.
Oh, dope.
After we hit 10,000 subscribers. So that starts today. So shout out to Binance, and yeah, shout out to you, my bro. So good to see you. So good to do this. I've been bumping into you in so many places being like, yo, Lloyd, when are we going to make that conversation happen? And you're like, I don't know if I'm ready. I don't know. And I'm just like, bruh, what are you talking about, man? Like, I think you are such an important person in the city, especially. I think in our industry as a whole. But I think you also play such an important part in Cape Town as well. I think you really care about this place too. So it's really an honor to sit here and get to hear your story. So where I'd like to start, bro, like you're someone who does so many different things. Can you just give us like a high level overview of those things and how you compartmentalize them? So if we're like some sort of elevator pitch, you in some sort of circle where, someone asks you what you do professionally, like what is that answer you give?
So the one thing, funny enough, when you say that, I've had to figure out who I'm talking to. Like my audience will tell you what answer I'm going to give you, right? But if I give you like an overarching one, I'm a culture activist. I'm someone who cares deeply about what culture is all about in each spaces. I'm someone who cares deeply about the betterment of people. I'm someone who cares deeply about building legacy, The reason I do that is, for me, is always about bringing people together for a common cause that has something to do with making spaces better. So I guess you could, if you want to really summarize it, you could call me like, a social entrepreneur.
Dope.
That's what someone referred to me as once before.
And you like that?
I like that. I was like, there's something to it, But at the end of it all, man, to be honest with you, man, all I'm trying to do is like live out every single dream that I have.
Amazing.
And I'm blessed enough to have a lot of those dreams and also the capacity to do that. Very early in my life, I figured that if there's certain things that I have to go for, I just have to tie myself to the right people that are going to help me do
100%. So in that, bro, you DJ, you've got an agency. Like, just take us through that quickly. The different things that you do.
Cool. So first and foremost, I'm a DJ. I love playing music in dark rooms. And that brings people together. We have a lot of fun. You get to meet interesting people in that space because everyone's let their hair down. I'm also a restaurateur. I'm a part owner of a restaurant called Therapy, which is based in the middle of the city in Cape Town. There, I'm blessed to be in partnership, obviously, with my brother Vincent and a couple of other gentlemen from Joburg who are under the Jameli Group.
Incredible, man.
Aside from that, I'm a co-founder of a consultancy called Blank Kanvas. And I guess that would actually be the center of our world, because every single idea or every single execution that you see from either myself or Vincent is born out of Blank Kanvas. And we formed Blank Kanvas in 2015. And really, it's the catchment for all of our ideas. So from there, we founded the restaurant. Blank Kanvas takes care of our images as DJs. It also is the playground where we created our festival ComUnity. It's where our investment lies into a clothing brand called By Dome. And every other creative idea that comes up, what we do is we come up with a creative idea. We know that we don't have the capacity to do all of the work. So what we do is come up with an idea, build an incredible team that's going to be around that idea, people that are smarter, more agile than us, and then they go off and conquer.
Crazy, bro. Wow.
Yeah.
You've come such a long way, bro. It's so insane to hear all the things that you're busy with, bro.
It's a long time since Hectic 99, bro.
Yo, long time, bro. Long time,
yeah.
bro. Crazy, man.
Yeah.
That's insane. I remember you sort of stepping into the DJ world to like hear all the things you're doing now. It's just so incredible, bro. So take me to the beginning, bro.
Yeah.
Take me to, if we're now watching that documentary on your life, or we watching the documentary on Blank Kanvas, and now it's like that, you know, it's that origin story.
Yeah.
You know, we're gonna do Vincent's one when he's on the show, and now we're going to yours. So it's like, where does your story begin, bro? Just maybe give us some early context, family, and then take us through that, if you don't mind.
Yeah, it's my story, man. It would literally be where maybe Vince's would be a really good movie. Mine would have to be a series, man, because there's just so many different things that have happened in my life. And my story actually starts out in Cape Town. I was born here. My family is from Stekspruit, Emakatuma, which is in the middle of the Eastern Cape.
Yes.
Both my parents come from that region. I have a father that used to, like those normal rags to riches story where my dad used to walk 20 kilometers a day to go to school. And he quickly found himself as one of those people that were really excited about education, and he saw it as something that could free him out of that poverty. So he was that's really smart kid at school. Fast forward, he goes into varsity, where he then earns a degree in finance. And at the time, if you remember, obviously my dad grew up during apartheid, and his first taste of working in a corporate environment, he went to go work for insurance companies. And at the time, it was the first time they were taking a wave of black finance guys. Crazy. Because obviously the country had been locked out for us. And because of that, he had the knack to connect with people. He had the knack of understanding of how to build personal finance for other black people, I guess.
Crazy.
And what that meant was that we can't keep you in one region. We got to move you into different places because he displayed leadership. But what that meant for me personally was that I literally, before the age of 8, I had lived in Cape Town, I'd lived in PE, I'd lived in East London, I'd lived in Joburg.
Crazy, bro.
Right? So
jeez, I didn't know this about
all
you.
those going to different places. And I guess then maybe the story in the documentary where the first cliffhanger happens is when my parents divorced.
Yeah.
So to give you context, because my pops was working in this financial industry and he was taken care of, we lived in what you would call now affluent areas, you know. So, I mean, obviously Rondebosch East now is not a thing, but at that time it was a big thing, right? And then so think about it. So like from when my parents divorced and they had quite a messy one, I live in Rondebosch East one day, the next day I'm living in the back of someone's yard in a 1-bedroom in Kukulet.
Crazy, man.
Because now we've moved with my mom. And my mom, obviously, yes, she was working, but she was not making any sort of money that my pops was making.
Siblings?
Siblings, I've got an older brother.
Yes.
He's 45 now, and I've got an older sister, who's 42.
So
and then I was the youngest for quite a long time. Trust me, the story gets better. And from there, I think that's where I was awakened personally, because as a young kid who's going to private schools, so my first school I went to was SACS here in Cape Town. Again, to give you a context of how much we moved. First 6 months in Sub A, I was in a school in Port Elizabeth called Grey College. Then 6 months later, I'm at SACS in Cape Town. And then again, because I was about to turn 8, 6 months later, I moved to like a normal public school, you know. And then that was my awakening, because I was like, whoa, like the bubble that I was living in doesn't exist. You know, there's people who are living completely differently to me. So it was like a lot of learning on the fly of like everything that I thought was normal was actually not normal.
Wow.
Then the I guess from ages 8 till about 15 was really my education in what it is to live truly, like be under the poverty line, if I put it that way.
Yes.
My moms and I, my two older siblings, we moved to Cooks, as I said. And my mom used to work for the council. And so they connected her to other people that worked at the council because they heard of her situation. So this brew kindly took us in. We used to chill at the like live in his backyard. He had this 1 bedroom because my mom was trying to figure it out. From there, we moved to a place in Khayelitsha, well, in Kwezi Park, which is in Khayelitsha, to this 2 bedroom house. And this was like one of the funniest things. Like I would actually do a cartoon over this. In this house, we didn't have a roof. Actually, I found like 2 years ago that house was actually off the grid. So my mom worked in the council. So because she couldn't afford to get a house, she got connected at the civic center where someone got a house that was off the grid for her for us to go and stay while she was trying to figure it out. Then we move into this house. This house has like one side has a ceiling, the other doesn't. So you could like be chilling in this house, bro, and like there's pigeons flying through the crib, right? So, and also there, it's a 2 bedroom house, so it's 3 kids.
Sure.
There's 3 of us in one room.
Top down.
Yeah,
Yo.
you know, for me it was an adventure, to be honest with you, because
100%.
like I was still surrounded by all my favorite things. So I grew up playing a lot of sports.
Yes.
So that kind of like made things seem a little easier.
Yes.
And then between that time, my mom obviously started getting work and things started getting a bit better. And then we moved to Epongweni, which is a Khayelitsha as well. And when I turned 16, which is probably my second biggest and probably the where you would start the documentary, was when my mother passed away.
Crazy, bro.
Yeah.
Crazy. When does the first time your path comes across some sort of inkling to the industry, whether it's like, is it radio, is it TV, is it, what do you see? What's the first thing you see that sparks that first, like, this is what I might do, or this has just sparked my interest? Like, do you remember what it was that you saw or read or came across?
So when we stayed in PE, funny enough, when I was still going to creche at the time, my pops used to play a lot of music in the car.
Yes.
And eventually when I joined radio much later, my pops was like, yo, you actually have always been born for this thing. And I'm like, what are you talking about? It's like, no, when you were like 3-4 years old, that time they had tape decks.
Yes.
So what my older sister and I would do, I would take my dad's cassettes and put them in the tape deck, and there was a record button, and apparently like I'd just be recording my voice and just talking into it and saying what's going on. So he's like, no, you've always had this thing, you know.
Wow.
But for me, the first inkling, I think, where I was like, yo, I'm interested in the industry, must have been around age 15. I got introduced to a crew called Fifth Floor and a group of guys called First Case. So those guys were like a hip hop crew, and we just hung around them because we were like these little kids I was trying to get into All Nations and Observatory, and these guys would just tag us along, right? And that's when I was like, yo, there's something that I really enjoy about performing for people, bringing people together. So I would sneak into clubs. That time, there was a club on Bree Street called The Velvet Rope, quite early as well. Like I would sneak into these clubs, Chrome and so forth. So that was the first time I was like, I'm kind of interested in this space, but I don't know what I want to do yet.
Crazy. Okay. And so what comes after 16, bro? I take it you move in with your pops? Like what's...
No. Like 16 was wild. So my mother passed away literally the night before I wrote my prelims.
Crazy.
Right? My mom's had a heart condition. And the night of her passing, I was the only kid in the house. So my mom goes, takes a bath, comes back, and then my room was on the way to hers. She comes into my room and she sits down. It's like, yo, like I'm a bit tired, but I'll be fine. Cool. She goes to her room. I'm like, and then I sit next to her. I'm like, let me just check how everything's going. Long story short, in the matter of that hour, like my mom collapsed and we were trying to get her to the hospital. And she passed away on our way there. This was like, I think it must have been like 2, 3 a.m. in the morning.
Terrible, right? Yeah.
The next morning I woke up and went to go write my exams. I was writing an English paper. When I got to school, no one knew what had happened. But the thing that kept going on in my head was like, if I don't go write these finals now, I'm gonna have to come back next year, and I'm not trying to come back next year, So I think innately I had always wanted to kind of see through what she was trying to do, because my mom passed away at a time where she was literally starting to get her head above water.
Wow.
So for me, it was like, that was super important. That obviously had a straining effect on my relationship with my pops, whereas yes, he was still in my life, he was still very supportive, saw us through school, but there was not a real connection for me. So I stayed at home, but my siblings actually moved out. And that's the other part of my life completely changed, because up until that point, I was a complete nerd, right?
Really?
And I met there's an uncle of mine who was like this super cool dude, amazing with the ladies, amazing with people. And I stayed with this guy for like about a year while all my siblings, so my pops moved to Joburg, my sister moved in with my pops, and I stayed at home. And in that year, I just learned a lot about people. I learned a lot about things.
Presenter.
Man, I learned everything.
Yeah.
And the following year, obviously, I went into my first year varsity and I studied at UWC.
What did you study?
I initially went in believing that I'm going to do this BCom accounting. I'm become a CA.
Yeah.
I was good with numbers. I was getting A's at school. And then I arrived at varsity and things completely changed.
Crazy.
I got to varsity and I literally was one of those students, like, it was always a toss-up between, am I going to get lunch at school or must I save money to take a train to go back home, because I still was very prideful at the time to ask too much from my parents. My pops had, by this point, because my parents divorced when I was 8, my pops had remarried, so the relationship with my stepmother as well wasn't that great.
Yeah.
So I wasn't really trying to ask for anything. Then that's when I was like, I need to come up with a master plan as to how I'm going to start making my own money.
Yeah.
Enter a guy called Hlubi Makila.
Yeah.
Right. Hlubi was my first Vince before Vince. Right.
Crazy.
And this dude, we just took a liking to each other. We found out that we went to the same primary school, and his parents as well kind of like took me under their wing. We found out that Hlubi's dad was good friends with the guy who owns the pub at UWC. So I'm like, does your dad know this guy? Because like everyone's paying $10 every Friday to get in here. There's like 1,000 people. Like, I'm like, that's something we could do, right? As first years, somehow Hlubi's dad convinces Uncle Eric to let us throw a party.
Crazy.
Right, at the barn. And man, like, I remember that Friday, like, we made this poster. I was always like very creative already. Right? Let's make a poster. Let's sell this thing. And we walk into, if you've ever been to UWC, you walk down that road, the road is packed, bro.
Yeah.
There's just a line of students. And usually they used to charge $10. We're charging $5 today.
Yeah.
There's a line of students. And from there, like, there's a whole story behind like how I got into DJing there.
Yes.
But we just started throwing parties, and then things took off because every Friday when I was getting to resident there at the pub, 1 week I'm meeting DJ Tira, next week it's Fresh, next week it's Euphonic.
Yes.
And then things really turned around when Euphonic was like, I like what this kid is doing. And then he took like a trip from Joburg and he flew down. He was like, I want to meet with you. And so we sat and had this meeting. He was like, you're throwing parties here. I want to see what I can do with you.
Wow, bro, that's insane. So when was the first time you DJ'd? Like, when was the first?
The first time I spun music, again, like for me, I've always had like this really great blessing of being surrounded by people that bring me these things into my life,
Yes, yes.
So again, when I was saying, like, when I was rapping in the rapping scene, I was moving a lot with a guy called Thokozani. And Thokozani introduced me, I think, into the love and consumption of music, because all the time he's just playing tapes. And we started rapping and we started going to these parties with the first cases and the fifth floors. And next thing, he starts playing, I think that time Oskido had Oskido Church Grooves 1 out.
Crazy.
Fresh as Flavor 1. And Thokozani starts jamming the stuff, right? And he's jamming it on cassette. And we realized that on these cassettes, you can play two songs at one go. So Thokozani would like play one song and somehow try and mix it. So I was like, we would like trying to get them matched up, right?
Match them,
So that's probably my first exposure into like playing music. But where I really then started taking it seriously and going, okay, cool, maybe like I want to continue doing this, was again when I through Thokozani, we started playing parties, and then we started doing a lot of house parties. And then I came into contact with this guy named DJ Jazz Tibini, who was just this amazing DJ. And he saw that we wanted to start DJing, and he was very good friends with Thokozani. So he'd be like, when I'm playing a house party, you guys can come and connect my sound, right? So this one party, I remember we were in Langa, and he was just spinning, and we'd connect the music. I'm sitting there, and I'm like, and I couldn't get it right because we would practice. Thokozani had this thing down, like the mixing, and then I watched this guy for like an hour, and I remember walking away from that set, and I was like, okay, now I know how to DJ. That weekend, I got myself, like I hired like a pair of decks, and all I did that whole weekend was just play the same songs over and over and over until I got it.
Yeah.
And I think that's where when I was like, okay, cool, I've got this thing. And funny enough for me, it was never really just about the DJing itself. It was the fact that I could build a brand out of it. So very early on, I was like, okay, like I want to make a mix, put it on a disc, make the sleeve, go give it out to people. Funny enough, an older brother of mine just the other day sent me one of the very first mixtapes that I made, you know.
Crazy.
So like that, for me, that's what always fascinated me about it. I don't think I chose to become a DJ. I wanted to become an artist that had all of the different things around him.
Incredible, bro.
Yeah.
And do you remember the first DJ set where it was like a crowd, you spinning, and it was like,
yo, I would have to say maybe the first gig where I was like, okay, I've got a career. Like I can make a career of this thing. Because everything else was just kind of like obscure. Someone coming here, come and play a set. I was invited by UWC to do a gig where DJ Cleo was playing for the SRC. And then I rocked before Cleo, right? Cleo misses his flight and they like carry on. And I played for like 4 hours.
Crazy.
And no one cared. There was no point where people were like, where's Cleo? I'm like, okay, I got this, right? So I think that's probably the first gig where I was like, okay, cool. Like I'm a serious thing. Like I need to take this to another level.
Amazing. Yeah. I think it's such an important skill, man. And like, that's something I will learn to do is DJ before the end of time.
Please don't.
No, please.
You're right.
And I don't even mean like to pursue a career. I think it's just an important way that you can articulate yourself in terms of like curating music for the room, for your own mixes, for your own thing. You know, I just think it's an important thing. I think we need more people to DJ. Yeah. Just from being able to DJ, you know?
I don't think
not to take your money, bro.
But I hear you. I don't think other DJs will agree. Have you seen the meme where they're like, someone's trying to get an operation from a doctor? Yeah. And they're like, no, everyone's a DJ now. So, like, yeah, we need more doctors.
I think it's a good thing, man. Yeah. I think just as a way to just, you know, instead of just listening to music, what a great thing to put some records together. Like there's a real art form to it. Like even if it's like, I'm sure that's a form of meditation for you. Once you get behind those decks and you're playing a set and you're in this like sort of passive meditation state where you just, you know.
I'm sure you can relate, you know, because in fact, when it comes to DJing as an art for you specifically, I definitely think it's something that you should do because you've always been a lover of the music and everything that's around the music. You know? So definitely. For me, I realized that it's not only the act of actually physically playing the music that's therapeutic for me. The thing that I actually really love about the music that I play is the story behind finding the music, you know? And so now the other thing that's become interesting with music, because you've got all these streaming services and everything, it's so much easier to find a certain track, right? Whereas in my time, man, if you were looking for a track, one person in the country had it. You know, if they had the vinyl, you had to be friends with Vinny Vince or friends with Euphonic. Yo, please send me that track. So for me, that was the thing what was really fascinating about it, that I loved, is that I could get this new thing first, you know, and I had this acapella first. So if I rock this acapella at the party, no one else has it, you know. That was what really got me into that.
The collecting was such a big part of it. I guess it still exists today, but I do think like, what's it going to be like in 10 years from now, when every DJ set is probably going to be you're streaming the songs while you're DJing, you know, which will be a better way to pay artists for the music being played, a better way to track, you know. I don't think anyone's going to be storing on USBs, and I think that's going to move away in the near future.
The crazy part now, you're seeing vinyl come back, you know. I call me crazy. I think all the stuff that we grew up on somehow comes back as a novelty.
Yes.
I was in a store the other day and I was seeing like they had VHS tapes.
Yeah.
They had DVD tapes, you know, and there was just something about the experience of going there and picking something up and knowing that this is the copy that I have to consume it. That kind of felt cool. So I won't be surprised.
But bro, you've seen like every dope indie music video these days has like a VHS tape. They're using it, they're putting it with digital footage, or even everybody's doing it, let's be honest, you know. But I think what we've learned is like, you know, there was a time people were like, radio's dead. That's it. You'll see. Bro, radio's never going to die. Radio will be around forever. It's just another format, you know? And just the same way everyone's like, music videos are done. There's no more music video channels. It's like, no, they're not done. They seem to be recreating and reimagining these spaces and themselves, you know? So I think you're spot on, bro. Things do come back and things do find their way. Bro, tell me, when does the agency play happen? Is that, and how do you meet Vincent? Like, how does that whole story come together?
The first time I met Vincent, Vincent and I didn't like each other the first time we met each other, if I must put it that way. I was a young guy playing music, playing cricket in the street, and for some reason, and I still can't get my head around this one, maybe you'll get it out of him. He was already driving a Run X, a car at that time. So imagine like you're playing in the street, this car comes, and then while you're playing, this guy's trying to move you out the way because the car is to come by, and he's just playing Tupac in the car, right? And he was dating a chick who was a lady who was in our street, right?
Yes.
And he would come and pick her up, and I always had my first impression was like, what an asshole, right?
Yeah.
So then, fast forward, obviously start establishing ourselves in our various ways in the industry. And then about 2010, I get this random call, right? During my day. And Vince and I were always bumping into each other at various parties. We had a common friend, a guy called Akona. But we had never connected, you know? And then he gives me a call and he's like, hey, this is Vincent. I love the work that you're doing. There's some stuff that I'm up to. I don't know what, but I'd like just to chat with you. Let's have a lunch and see what happens, right? And crazy enough, at the time, I was getting like, because remember at this time, 2010, I'm on TV. I'm getting a little bit of popularity. I'm known in the city. And I was getting a lot of people asking me for help with different things, you know, and I was very happy to help. But this was the first time someone was calling me, wanting to do something that's going to help both of us, you know. So I was like, let's have a meeting. I'm keen to listen, you know.
Yeah.
We met up in Rondebosch, the Rondebosch student village. And what was supposed to be like I remember it was between me going from set to my next meeting. I think I had like a 40-minute gap or something. And I was like, yo, bro, like, I can do this. Like, I really want to meet you. Please don't take this a long way. Let's do a 30-minute just for us to get the conversation started and see. I got there. I ended up calling my next meeting and going, let's move it to another day. And Vincent and I sat there for like 4 to 5 hours, just rapping about what we really didn't like about what was going in the city. And the common thing was that we're both two guys that have grown up in Kailicha. obviously Vince for longer than I, but we're the only two people that we can identify that are doing something notable in the city. How do we make sure that more people, and because we know more people, are given this audience, and also not an audience of our own people, because it wouldn't make sense for us to go and share, hey, these are your shining stars in Khayelitsha. We had to go tell it somewhere else, right? So that's where we were like, okay, we both have a crowd of people that live outside of this bubble that we're from. How can we tell the story and give more people the platform that we have, Because it's not going to last if it's just us.
Yeah.
Fast forward, we created our first business. It was called Ikapa Live. So the idea was like, okay, we need a blog, right? And this blog, it's not just a blog, it's a digital space. We're going to make money from this thing, right? We're going to write stories about fashion, entertainment, entrepreneurship, and literally spotlight all the people that are doing dope things, in the different townships in Cape Town. We launched this thing in 2011, I think. My dates might be a bit wrong. But anyways, we launched it, and at the time, Instagram was not even around.
Crazy.
Twitter was probably a year old. And this was before you could buy trends, right? And like you could organize a group of people to say this. And like every week when we dropped stories, like Kappa Live was just trending, We were like, people were reading the stories and whatever. But we weren't making any money. Like we're just getting we're getting sent like free stuff from brands, makeup and all that, but we're not making actually any money. We were financing and remember that time you didn't have tools like you do now where you can get ChatGPT to create a whole website. You're paying like someone 40 grand because this is now, at the time, it's a specialized service, right?
Yeah.
So money ran dry because we're paying from the gigs that we're doing, trying to launch this thing. Then we sat down and we're like, you know what? The premise of the idea is still in the right place, The fact that we want to tell the story, and I think it's what makes us special. But how can we make sure that people can see, feel, and touch what we're talking about? Not only see it, because if you're just asking people to read, there's no call to action from there. That's when we had to go back to the drawing board, and we originated an idea which I still think is so relevant, which was called Ikasi Experience. And I think that's where people then started knowing who Vincent LOYD were. Ikasi Experience was a township market. We brought together 90 people, 90 vendors who sold goods and services in township spaces. We brought together a five-a-side tournament with that. There was something called Ikasi as Talent, a talent show within that. And now, with all of our muscle, me being on Hectic 99, Vince knowing the black coffee is quite early, we then got media around this. And what we did was we started making it cool for kids from here in town to travel all the way to the hood to have this party.
Incredible, bro.
Right? And the Ikasi Experience was a thing, bro. I can name so many artists, so many people that have made their names from Cape Town, that either their first gig or the first time they had a food stand was at Ikasi Experience. For example, the first time I met the Mbeki brothers, Mshayi and Mfundo from Rands, Mshayi had a chicken stand in Gooks. Right?
Crazy, bro.
And then the next time he was at Ikasi Experience, one of his first DJ gigs was Ikasi Experience. K-Easy, one of his first MC gigs, Ikasi Experience. There's a guy now, Uspaga, who's a producer on MTV. One of his first gigs, so that was that melting pot. So we had this business which was humming and humming and humming, right? And obviously we had a company at the back of it which was called Ikapa Live. Behind it that was producing Ikasi Experience. So we turned the blog into a company, which is an agency. And then a whole lot of brands started coming to us going, hey, like we like what you guys are doing. You're connecting us authentically to the township. Can you guys come up with other ideas for us, for other things?
Yeah.
It was only then where we then formed the agency seriously when we went to a breakfast called Constantia to Khayelitsha, which was like about bridging the gap between the two.
Yes.
Where we met a gent called James Burton, who took a liking to what we were doing and said, hey, we're about to pitch for the city of Cape Town as an agency. Would you guys like to partner with us? Because we like the way that you guys approach things. Obviously, as two township DJs, with no real background in finance and me dropping out of BCom accounting, our books from Recover Live were terrible, right? Nothing you want to present to anyone. So we're like, no, let's start something new. And then that's when we came up with the concept of Blank Kanvas.
Yes.
And Blank Kanvas was who partnered with Hero to go and pitch for the city of Cape Town. And we won.
Crazy, bro.
Yeah.
And today, I mean, geez, bro, like when I looked at some of the stuff you guys were doing, I mean, just take us through high level some of those. Like,
we've done a lot, man. We've worked with the likes of Capitec. We created a platform for Capitec called Live Better Talks.
Yes.
Which was probably like one of the a culture shifter for me, because before then I struggled to think of a platform that really brought people together to share knowledge and really like an impact.
Yeah.
We started this platform with 40 people in a coffee shop. The last one, we had 1,200 people at the waterfront, broadcast on SABC3.
Crazy,
AKA bro. J something, youngster, Naledi Pando's daughter, I forget her name. All in this one place, you know. So that was one thing that was impactful that we did. We also, Sports Scene launched a platform called Capsule Fest.
Yes.
And so we then were the agency that executed year 2 and year 3 for them.
Yeah.
Moving it from I think the first year when we came on, they would attract 2,000 kids per show. Our second show for them, we took it to Zone 6 in Soweto, did 3,000 kids, booked Vince Staples to come to South Africa for the first time.
Yeah.
The second show, we had 4,500 kids, 31 brands coming together to put this show together.
Crazy.
And the likes of like Ricky coming to host like interaction platforms. Yeah. And funny enough, I still remember this, where Ricky's parked in his Porsche at the back after performing at Capsule Fest the second time. He's like, boys, I need to operate something in the space. I need to do something. So for me, the beautiful thing about what some of the work that we've done is that we've inspired other people to build things that are even bigger, you know? So him seeing what we're doing also helped him believe that something like Cotton Fest is totally possible, you know? So that's one of the things we've done. We've worked with Ellen Gray Orbis Foundation, Heineken, a whole lot of brands, man, that have just entrusted us to come up and help them build ideas to connect with people.
Crazy, bro. So, and talk to me high level in your business today.
Yeah.
What brings in, just percentage wise, what's bringing in the money between DJing, hospitality and agency? Like,
hospitality has no money. Hospitality has no money. Look, so hospitality, what I love about hospitality, and I guess the reason why we went into building therapy was that we know that on every weekend, for example, we will bring in influential people into the city.
Yeah.
Those people want to connect with us. They want to connect with what Cape Town's all about.
Yes.
But now I'm taking you to someone else's establishment and you're dropping like heavy rack there. And I'm lucky if I even get booked here, you know? And what we were like, we realized is that one, we never want to open a club because all of the elements that you bring to yourself when you open a club, but we definitely want to build another space where people can meaningfully connect. So that's why we went into hospitality. And I don't think our goal was to make money out of it. Our goal was to find ourselves in spaces and conversations where we can build bigger things, you know? So without therapy, some of the opportunities that we have now don't happen 100%. Because we got to meet the people on our floor, you know?
Yeah, it fills an important gap, bro.
It fills an important gap.
Feel that,
but if I answer your question more directly right now, I would say the thing for me that keeps the wheels turning the most is probably Blank Kanvas, our consultancy, because we get to work with exciting brands. We shot our very first ad last year with African Bank. Got Nomzamo to collaborate with the bank. First, actually, we got Ricky Rick to collaborate with the bank when they were rebranding.
Crazy,
and then in year 2, they gave us all the keys. They said, shoot the ad and bring in the talent as well.
You guys did that, bro.
Yeah, that was us. Yeah.
Bro. Wow.
But I would say the thing for me that has the most potential and that I lean into every day are our personal brands. I think Vinny, Lloyd, or if I put it in my sense, me being who I am is what is always going to bring the juice.
Yeah.
You know, and so the more and more I can lean into that, and I guess because I've been such an advocate for the spaces that I'm in, I'm really trying to teach myself to put myself in the forefront of it all, because really the more and more I grow, the more I can grow my spaces.
I love that, bro. I love that. That's powerful, bro. 2 more questions before we wrap up. First one is, what do you think the next 5 to 10 years looks like? Is it focusing on building that further and scaling the team and making it like opening offices in different cities? Or do you see just sort of building your guys' personal brands with more event properties? Like, how do you envision the sort of near future? Obviously, it can go a completely different way, but how do you sort of, what's the road you're looking at?
The road I'm looking at is probably, even I'll drop it as advice, you know, like for me, I want to build platforms and things that are going to outlive me. You know, I've only got a set amount of time here. I could walk out of here and something can happen, right? Okay. But you'll never forget that therapy exists. You'll never forget that community exists, Blank Kanvas exists. So now my main thing is really finding the next group of people that are going to help us take these amazing ideas that we originated into the future, you know? So it's about finding smarter people, better people that know more than we do, you know? That's probably my first objective. And then on a personal level, for me, I just want to take what I do to the world even more, you know. I think people have heard about us across the world. We just had now like some guys coming from the States, and the first people that they asked for was us. But I want them now to ask them.
Bro, it's too far, bro. It's so crazy to see like a platform like that, where we must actually link it for people who haven't seen it. Like, it was so crazy to see you guys there. It was so dope.
What is it? What is it?
What's it called? The
apartment life.
Bro, it was so fire. Your guys said, man, it's just like, and it was so nice to see like familiar faces.
Yeah.
In what is a global platform, right? You know, like, and to see you guys there was something special, man.
And funny enough, it leans into your question, and my answer to it is that the apartment life guys, the reason why they've built something so reputable that people get excited to see is that, one, they trust heavily in their team. They've built an incredible team that can take it anywhere across the world, you know? So for me, it's about that. And like I was saying, like, I want to take my talents to every part of the world, you know? I want to go to the States and do some work. I want to go to Kenya and do some work. I want to go to Amsterdam and do some work. The beauty about living in Cape Town and being able to make it in Cape Town and not packing my bag and going to Joburg like everybody else, if you can make it in Cape Town, you can make it anywhere. Because here you've got the most amount of barriers that are standing in front of you to really thrive as a black kid. You know, it's tough to throw parties in the city.
Facts, bro.
It's tough to be a musician in the city. You don't make money as a kid. There's no media platforms in the city, you know? So for the fact that we've been able to do it for 20 years, I'm sure we can take it to other parts of the world now.
100%. And bro, for someone who's listening right now, and they really resonate with this conversation, they resonate to you as a human being, they see themselves in you and the journey and things you've gone through in your life. What is some advice you would give? I want you to wear 2 hats here. I want you to wear the hat of someone who owns Blank Kanvas, and I want you to wear the hat of you as your personal brand. So what's some advice you would give? And I know no 2 paths are really the same, but if you were speaking to the younger version of you and that 16-year-old who finished his exam, and you could have a sit down with him, what would you share with him?
I think the first thing I'd remind him in both contexts is that God really loves you, you know? And the slower you can say that to yourself and realize that every single morning you wake up, you can open your eyes and you can see, your feet sit the ground and you can walk, and you're able to go and chase these things that you want, and as much anxiety they bring you, as much doubt they bring you, but someone is still giving you the ability to do that. For me, that's the greatest gift that anyone can give you. And there's been so many moments that even in my own career that I've let the self-doubt sit in my head for too long and believe that in certain spaces where I am able, where I have been given the capabilities, that I don't give myself the credit to believe, you know? So for me, I would say, like, center your belief in the fact that God really loves you and he gives you the opportunity, whoever it is that you praise, who's your higher power, believe that that person is looking out for you, and what you've been given to do, you are able to do. From a DJ point of view, I got to put out some music, man. Like for me, that's the next frontier. That's the thing that I've been standing on the edge of for such a long time, because I've been so lucky. And probably another thing that's interesting that you didn't know, how we got the sports scene opportunity was because I had built the relationship with sports scene by curating all their music for 3 years.
Crazy.
So if you walked into a sports scene between 2011 and 2013, I gave the sound that sports scene has. Like, so you walk in, there were mixers playing, that's what I was putting together. And I would give them insights and they'd be like, yo.
The music was fire,
yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay.
And then they'd be like, yo, like, we trust you, we like the thing we're doing, we're looking for a new agency, can you help us? So I would say for me, it's leaning into creating more products. So if you are a DJ, create more products. Create something that is going to outlive you. Like, so music being one of those things. And I really need, the day that DJ LOYD dies, his music will live on, his platforms will live on. And then from a Blank Kanvas point of view, for me, it's always going to come down to surround yourself with only the best. I've been so, surround yourself with only the best, and also surround yourself with people that are willing to go the extra mile, Every single chapter of Blank Kanvas, no matter who we've been surrounded by, we've been so lucky that the people that we've worked with will go through fires for us, And I think that's the one thing that I really want to make sure that as we grow the two different sectors, is that we're investing in our people, investing in those people, because they're the ones that are actually going to go to war with you and for you.
That's powerful, bro. That's powerful. Bro, from my side, I just want to say, to yourself, to Vince as well, you guys are just like salt of the earth people, bro. Like, I've known you for many years.
Yeah.
You've always kept it 150, my dog. Like, always, bro. Like, you're been such a consistent human, and I appreciate that so much about you. Like, our paths have crossed many a times in many different places and many different circles, and we know a lot of similar people, and it's been so incredible to have like a front row seat to your story and to just like watch how you guys build and how like some things that have been ideas that have come into fruition now, and they're like Instagram page with over 10,000 followers of a thing that you built, and to see that is just really, really incredible, man. So I just want to give you guys your flowers, bro. You guys are on an incredible trajectory. You're just getting started, bro, and I think it's just the beginning of something incredible that you guys are doing, So shout out to you, my bro.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. In fact, before we finish, I want to give you your flowers as well, right?
Yeah.
And I've never told you the story. And there was a time we bumped into each other, and it was like very quick, right? I want to give you your flowers because there was a time I bumped into you in another part of the world. I had been invited to go to Amsterdam dance event. Mm-hmm. And man, like I got there, I was overwhelmed. I spent half of the afternoon when I got there in the hotel room just going like, who am I going to hear? I knew no one, right? And even like the people that had invited me, they were so busy like taking care of their own clients that they didn't really see to me. So like I was just like miserable that afternoon. And that time I think WhatsApp was still kind of a new thing. We were interacting a lot on Twitter. And someone drops me a message saying, "Yo, I'm sitting in the city center. Come, let's link up." And this is George Avakian, right? And that trip, you actually took me under your wing. Crazy, and from there,
in Amsterdam.
Yeah, in Amsterdam.
Yeah, sure.
And you didn't even know. You were just like having dinner with a brew. But I was like, I didn't know what was going on, right?
Yeah.
And that interaction, and I remember us sitting and we were talking about music and the things we wanted to do. And you put such a fire under me that the rest of the trip, I ended up making the most of it,
Incredible,
so, and funny enough, some of those connections that I made there are still proving value in my life now.
Bro.
So I want to thank you as well, dude. And
thank you,
for you being able to create a platform like this and having conversations that make sense and that are meaningful in a time where everyone just wants the quick TikTok trend, the quick thing. Big ups to you, man, and may long it continue, bro.
Thank you, bro. I'd love to come through to the Blank Kanvas offices.
Yes, sir.
I'd love to sit down with Vince. Maybe you take us to therapy and just go through the whole thing.
Let's
and maybe a night at ComUnity, and we package that as like, maybe you can take us inside to the like
behind the scenes.
Let's do it, in the machine, bro. I love that. Thank you, bro. That was
Thank
beautiful,
you.
my brother. That was amazing. I appreciate you, bro. That was
so
powerful,
dope.
my bro.
That was so dope.
Heavy is the head that wear the crown. When I take the crown off, I put it on ice.